The alarms were set for 2:30 in the morning. Months of training had led to this moment. 18 of us with all our different stories to tell, all with different experiences, but hundreds of hours in the saddle preparing for the day ahead. We gathered at 4 o'clock in the morning at Peterhead Harbour, the easternmost point of Scotland, ready to set out for Scotland's widest journey. East to west on the longest day, on the summer solstice, not knowing whether it was possible. 374 kilometres, 233 miles across the country that we all live in, and all to raise money, and most importantly for the fantastic Githinbert Edwards Foundation.
Just tell me about how you came up with the idea for the event.
Yeah, so a number of years ago I did a bit of fundraising for Githinbert Edwards because my wife and I and the family went to Kenya. So at that point I was beginning to get into distance cycling. So I came up with a challenge where we went around 5 cities in a day for the Big 5 for Kenya, and it just kind of snowballed from there. I thought I wanted to do something every year. So after that I did a version of Beat the Sun. And when I was doing that, I really thought this is something that should be an event. That was the idea. I just wanted to share the joy of that journey. It's such a special journey across some of Britain, Scotland's best scenery. And it's a real challenge. I just think that sometimes there are challenges that can capture the imagination, to be racing against nature, to be racing against the sun, rather than an arbitrary time total or distance. And like I say, to go through some of the most spectacular scenery you'll see, it's just something really special. And I just wanted to make it into an event and see other people enjoy that journey.
In the morning at Peterhead Harbour, 4 o'clock in the morning, it was a misty morning. The sun was just starting to rise. It was a hazy sort of light as we all gathered in the car park at Peterhead Harbour, all a little bit apprehensive for what was to come. Most people in the group had not ridden this far before. A couple were experienced endurance cyclists, hoping to encourage and help some of the others along the way.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Wilds.
Yeah, just very quickly, big thank you from all of us. I know it's a lot of sacrifice of training, what you're doing today, time away from families, and the money that you've raised, amazing. We've got kids in Kenya and North East Scotland who are in situations that children simply shouldn't be in, but thanks to what you're doing, those situations are going to change. So really appreciate it. Stay safe today, and when it gets tough, just think of the people that inspire you, and we'll do it together. Good luck.
Where's the sunrise, by the way?
Rolling out of Peterhead Harbour at 4:10 in the morning, the minute the sun rose, along the sort of winding country lanes of East Aberdeenshire into Murray. Our first couple of stops were in Maud and in Turriff. We stopped for a little breakfast break at the Tesco in Keith. Although the first couple of hours had been really misty, really grey, a bit damp, as we were coming into Keith, there was a really beautiful moment coming along the valley. The sun broke through the mist, burnt off the mist, and what began was basically, kind of 10 hours of beautiful sunshine that we enjoyed throughout the day. After stopping in Keith and getting a bacon sandwich, a coffee, we continued on our way, moving from Murray into Speyside. And Speyside's just a wonderful part of the country if you've not been there. There's lots of distilleries. It's famous for its whiskey, but it's famous for its kind of granite high streets, wide roads. And it really was an enjoyable couple of hours, really enjoying the Speyside scenery. The sun was out, it was warming up. By about the midpoint of the ride at Aviemore, some guys were starting to struggle a little bit. There'd been one or two that had to get into the van, but most of us were in really good morale. There was 3 groups of 6 of us on the road, so 18 riders in total, split into 3 groups of 6, and all working really well together, taking turns on the front, encouraging each other, motivating each other, and just helping each other through the day in different ways. As I say, the midpoint of the ride was Aviemore. We stopped at the Ashes Bakery in Aviemore. We all got our pies. That was a real morale boost, sat in the sun, eating and laughing together before the kind of afternoon part of the ride. The afternoon part of the ride took us from Aviemore all the way across to kind of the Fort William area, up over the Lagan Dam, along Loch Lagan.
Snaking down the hill.
Oh, thank you. Oh, lovely.
Stuff, it's protein, that's why.
How are you feeling, Mike? How are you feeling?
Just keeping on top of this and water and...
Yeah, like on top of that, there's not much you can do, and
It's only the miles you put in your legs before that.
totally, and it's you just keep mentally at it, keep hydrated. You'll go through bad patches, but you'll come like any bad patch you'll come through the,
Just get hot and a bit like...
and hopefully a decent section of downhill now.
5 minutes.
Good, and you can always just get swept up in the next group. You might be fine. You might be fine.
Yeah.
Not even take a turn in the middle.
My time will come, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Last 5 miles like you will be.
Yeah, exactly. That was perhaps some of the point in the ride where a few of us were starting to dip. You know, the energy was running a bit low. We'd by that point been on the road for 10, 12, 13 hours, but we weren't quite near enough to finish yet that you could think we were on the home stretch. So at that point, you know, feet were sore, hands were sore, legs were obviously very sore. I think a few of the guys were struggling with back pain, with neck pain, with groin pain. So it was at that point that the sort of challenge and the scale of what we were doing really kind of took hold and really dawned on us that, oh my goodness, we're 13 hours into the day. We've cycled, 130 miles by this point, and we still have 100 miles to go. So that was certainly a challenging part, but there were a couple of really good cafes. There was a cafe at Lagan, before Lagan Dam, there was a cafe at Lagan Wolf Tracks. They really, I think, kind of lifted the morale again. We all got coffee, we all enjoyed a little bit of ice cream. But at that point, the scenery was just incredible. You kind of moved from the Speyside valleys up toward into the high mountains. You know, Ben Nevis on the left-hand side, just looking at Scotland's tallest mountain. As you're coming further onto the west coast, the lochs were there, and eventually we merged onto the west coast proper, and we could see the Cuillins on the Cuillin Ridge on Skye. Just really inspiring scenery. I think that's what makes this journey across Scotland from east to west such an inspiring story, such an inspiring journey to make. The scenery, the fact you're traversing the whole country really just captures people's imagination. And I think that's why it's been such a successful trip. Such a successful trip in terms of fundraising, most importantly. Lots of people just understand the premise of travelling east to west, east coast to west coast, Peterhead to Ardnamurchan, Scotland's widest journey on the longest day, trying to beat the sun. And so, yeah, seeing all those different parts of Scotland, the different regions, and by Glenfinnan, I was really starting to feel motivated again. By that point, we were starting to get to the point where you've only got 50, 60 miles to go, and you know that the end is starting to be within reach. Not quite in sight yet, but definitely in reach. Definitely, you think, a couple of more hours and I will be very much on the homeward stretch.
1 minute late, I'm disappointed.
Right, chaps, I'll catch you up. You hit the road if you want. Cheers, mate.
Go on, team.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Righty. Right, let's get up this hill. The morale was high leaving Glen Uig, but that morale was quickly beaten down by a very steep 10% climb that goes on for about a mile and a half coming out of Glen Uig. You know, it just went on and on. There was lots of corners and false summits where you think it's ended, you think you've reached the top, and then you go around a corner and there's a little bit more to go. And after 200 miles on the legs, those kind of medium-sized climbs felt like kind of alpine mountains. But we reached the top, we enjoyed the descent.
I knew it'd be tasty, but...
No, it's all flat with bits of up and down. But, actually, do you know what? It's slightly uphill, isn't it? Because the lighthouse is up on a cliff. So, but 25-ish miles to go. So, and actually, if you think about it, 6 of those or 5 of those are to the lighthouse from Cuillin, and that's a. If you can't enjoy and do that, then you know we must be in bad shape. And then you climb up over that moor that no one likes, and then you descend into Cuillin, and it's happy days, really, you know. Yeah, after getting through those climbs, we arrived at the iconic Ardnamurchan distillery. You know, as I say, this part of Scotland, all across the Highlands, is known for its distillery. And Ardnamurchan distillery is a lovely little distillery on the west coast. I think about 15 miles from the end point. And honestly, by that point, everyone was in tatters. It was a bit like a ghost town. No one was really talking.
It's all the haunted looks on people's faces.
Yeah, everyone's a bit in the sort of haunted zone now. Almost that way. It really was a bit of a crazy time there in Ardnamurchan distillery, with everyone just so out of it, so tired, knowing there was still 15 miles left to push up over quite a big climb actually from the distillery up over into a place called Cuillin. And it was on that climb that Matt, who created this ride, whose idea this was, he suffered a puncture. He had to stop, change his wheel, fix the puncture, and that lost him a bit of time. With how tired some of us were feeling, and the puncture that Matt suffered just coming out of the distillery, there was a real question of, are we going to make it to the end? Are we going to finish before the sun sets? But thankfully, you know, Matt was able to fix his puncture. He got a bit of help. He changed the inner tube. He pumped it up. We got going again. After Matt had his puncture, Matt and I rejoined in Cuillin. At that point, there's 6 miles to go. We rolled out of Cuillin, turned right up towards the lighthouse, knowing that we only had 4 or 5 miles to go, working together. At that point, we could relax a bit, laughing and joking at the stories that we'd shared along the way. And it really was just a special moment, rolling along, knowing that I was cycling next to Matt, who had done this challenge many years ago, but had done the challenge again today with 18 riders in tow, raising so much money for his cousin's charity, knowing that money was going to be put to good use, and yeah, knowing a real sense of accomplishment that we'd made it, when at points we thought we might not. You know, in points in the weeks and months beforehand, we didn't know whether we'd done enough training, but riding side by side on those twisty roads on the Ardnamurchan Peninsula, those roads really are, you know, for anyone that's been there, they're twisty, they're turny, there's lots of uphills, lots of downhills, lots of sharp corners, some sections where it's a bit gravelly in places because the road's kind of fallen apart. The sun kind of very much visibly going down. We could see it going down sort of gradually down over the mountains, but knowing that we were going to make it, knowing that we had 15-20 minutes to go before the sunset, knowing that we only had a couple of miles to go. So yeah, as the last few kind of turns were made, as we saw the lighthouse emerge in the distance on a little rocky outcrop in the Atlantic Ocean with the sun behind it, it really was an artistic moment, a beautiful moment, knowing that the day had finished the way we wanted it to, knowing that we were in fact going to beat the sun. We were going to get to the lighthouse before the sun dipped down behind it.
Good job. But you beat the sun. Good job. Well done.
Uh, 18 of us plus the support crew enjoying the moment, and we cracked open a Kenyan beer and shared stories of the day and reflected on the incredible work, the amazing work that the money we'd raised would do, both in Kenya for children who don't have the opportunities that they should, and for disabled children who are disadvantaged in the northeast of Scotland, knowing that the money we'd raised would be put to incredible use. And something that I will certainly remember for a very long time, and I hope in future maybe others will also share in this journey.
I want to say thank you to all of the cyclists and supporters who made our Beat the Sun Cycle Challenge possible this year. The impact was absolutely huge. 2 houses were built, one for a family who lost their house in a fire, and another for Christine and her children, who I'll never forget visiting for the first time. They were sleeping in a mud house by the side of the road, which could have been no bigger than 3 metres by 3 metres. And so to see both of these families into safe new homes is just incredible. 2 children's college fees have also been supported. Joseph is now studying motor vehicle technology, and again, I'll never forget visiting him for the first time many years ago. He'd sadly lost both his parents, and he and his brother were sleeping in very, very cramped and desperate conditions. There's also Mohammed, who has been able to join and complete college where he was studying electrical engineering. Again, Mohammed had sadly lost both of his parents, and his situation seemed like it had no hope. But thanks to Beat the Sun, that's very different now. We've also been able to fund 2 seminars, one being a sexual health and reproductive health session in Turkana, which is focused on the prevention of early pregnancies and STIs. We also have been able to organise a seminar for parents, which is designed to empower them to take more financial and emotional responsibility and to promote better family relationships. In addition to that, the impact doesn't stop there. We've been able to fund a specialist bed for a child with autism in North East Scotland, which is not only making his sleeping conditions much safer, but it's resulted in better sleep for the whole family as well. And finally, our work would not be possible with the amazing team of colleagues that I have, both in Kenya and North East Scotland. Thanks to Beat the Sun funds, we've been able to fund the salaries of 2 full-time social workers in Kenya for a year, and also 4 months of our North East Scotland support coordinator in Scotland. And without their work, it's very difficult for us to fully understand the challenges that families face and deliver the correct support. So thank you so much. This has been truly life-changing, and it's been an absolute privilege to be a part of.